Hey guys, it's your boy Rs, back at it again with another video. So this was meant to be a follow-up on the video that I released 2 weeks ago, in which I showcased my sustainless clears with both Acheron and Feixiao. I figured that after I got the Remembrance main character that it only made sense to test my new comp and test my theory. Would the Remembrance main character allow Feixiao to do some more consistent zero cycles? I was able to get that done very quickly and prove my hypothesis correct. Remember, his main character is very powerful with Feixiao. But after I had done that, and I was getting ready to make this video, I noticed that Smack got in some beef with his community. They were ratioing him in a community post. Now, all of a sudden, Firefly enters the fray. Apparently, Firefly is more free-to-play friendly than Feixiao. Interesting arguments. I looked through them. I got in an argument with another one of his community members, I believe. And they were saying that in Prydwen's most recent tier list that Feixiao should be tier 0.5. She's mid without her light cone. That if you're able to zero cycle with Feixiao without her light cone, that you must be, and I'm not bullshitting, some sort of god or have the best relics in the game. Really? Interesting. Apparently people were using their premium Feixiao teams and struggling against Svarog. And people were saying, oh, well, you did well against the Sting, but what about Svarog? What about him? I got something for that. So I'm going to show you guys the builds. These apparently godlike builds. My strategy that apparently is unrelatable and that nobody can do. This is too hard. Too hard for people to figure out. And then I'm just going to look at the data, look at the arguments, and we're going to see whether or not these people that think that Firefly is over Feixiao in terms of free-to-play friendliness, let's see if they still have that same opinion after watching this. So, if you know somebody like that, if you like this video, send this to them. Let's get their thoughts on this. Let's hop into the builds really quick. Do these look like godlike stats to you? 90 over 115? Don't even have 134 speed? Just using cruising. Not even using her best in slot relic set. I'm using Grand Duke. I guess these are unrelatable? This is unrelatable. Look at this piece. Godlike. Surely, this has to be godlike. Alright? Godlike pieces, by the way. E0S0. Of course. We got our E6 March. We're not using Eagle. Let me know. Are these godlike pieces? Godlike? They look decent. Godlike? We're using the SI5 swordplay. The only character on my team that can even be remotely compared to being godlike is my Robin, because she's E1S1. But I plan to get E1S1 Robin. I saved 200 pulls for her because I knew she was going to be insane. And people downplayed her, and then, oh, I wish I pulled Robin. There are people to this day that say, I'm not pulling for Robin because I don't like meta. I'm not going to pull for Robin because I don't like her song. Okay. Don't. As I said, E1S1. Just running her on Streetwise. If these are godlike builds, let me know. Maybe I'm out of touch. E6. We're just running 2-piece messenger on them with Sacerdos. Are these godlike? Let me know. By the way, I've had this piece here. I've had this since the first month of me playing this game. Everything maxed. And of course, this is like the only thing that we can use at the moment. Right? So we're going to go into the runs. I'm not going to go into super high detail because I've already covered this run before, but I'm just going to cover the differences. And you're going to see that this is very consistent. This isn't quote-unquote RNG based. The skill points are consistent. The end result is consistent. I have done this run easily like 20 plus times already. It took me 10 attempts to figure out. That's one of the things that people like to say. Oh, you zero cycled? Oh, it must have took you like 50 attempts to figure it out. No. Maybe to figure out the first run when I use Bronya with this? No. Nope. So, I'm going to show you guys the run, and you guys let me know what you think, and then we'll go into the counter arguments from these players who are just 100% convinced that Feixiao is less than Firefly. Okay, you can have that opinion. But by the time that I finish showing you the runs, showing you the evidence and the Carfax, you won't believe that anymore. So I'm going to hop right into this run. I'm only going to explain very briefly the differences between this run and my previous run because I don't feel like going into extreme detail again about something that I've already gone into extreme detail about. But the primary differences are obviously that we have the Remember's main character now, and his crit rate buff that we provide to Feixiao. As long as you have 90% crit rate, you basically end up with getting 100% crit rate, which was one of the problems that we had in the other run where it's like, oh, you miss crits. You don't miss crits when you're using the Remembrance main character. And then the other part of it is that not only can his buff be used on Feixiao, but it can also be used on Robin. And that means that every single one of our ticks of damage from whatever source that may be is going to have not only Robin's damage attached to it, but it's going to have our Remembrance main character's damage attached to it. So as a result, we don't actually have to focus as heavy on the minions as we did before, and we don't even need to kill the Trotters in the first half of the boss fight or the second half of the boss fight. So I guess I should say the first wave with the elites and then the second half of the boss fight. So I'm just going to show you guys how this is just very straightforward, very quick. I'm going to skip forward a little bit just because I don't want to sit here waiting for techniques to go off. But standard, you just skill immediately on Robin. Same things we always do, right? But this time, after we skill with March 7th, you put the buff on Robin. Now, every single time that Robin does any additional damage, that true damage stacks with it, as I've already mentioned. So we're just going to basic. We're still focusing this boss. Is basically the same strategy. We're going to we get a follow-up. Then we're going to basic so that we have 2 skill points. Ult immediately. We do not want these guys to touch us. We're ulting immediately because we're trying to wear down the toughness bar of the robot boss. Basic. And this is going to break. Then we ult. There's only a little bit of RNG involved here. If you miss some crits, but it's not that much. And he's gone just like that. Now here, all we had to do is basic. Now, I was trying to be cheeky and kill this Trotter because I thought I had to kill him. You don't have to kill him. I would have been better off just targeting this guy because he lowers his own health anyway. So we're just going to hard focus on him and he'll be out. And again, this is extremely consistent. Extremely consistent. Sometimes you can do so much damage on this boss that Mem doesn't actually come up to give you the buff on Feixiao before they die. I've had clears with this where I actually kill this shield boss before Mem even gets a chance to give Feixiao a buff. I prefer doing it this way, but you can do it either way. So I'm just showing you in the scenario that he doesn't die, then you just give the buff to Feixiao. Look how many stacks that she has already. Bronya, unless you have E4, I'm pretty sure, is not going to be assisting you at all in terms of attacks. She's just going to be doing like one basic. Whereas you remember his main character does damage. You have Mem, who is basically a fifth character on the field, which also makes sustainless clears even easier because that gives you more opportunities for your Feixiao and your Imaginary March 7 to not get hit. That was a problem that I had that no longer is a problem because we have Mem and the main character to take the damage for us. And on top of that, of course, the technique, the time stop, basically makes it guaranteed that we go first. So because of all of those reasons, this is extremely, extremely consistent. So we're just going to skill here, and he's gone. And with all the attacks that we've gotten from March 7th and him, we now start the wave with maximum stacks. So much so that we have to use them immediately so that we don't waste them. And this is 100% crit rate. And we already got a follow-up. In case you weren't paying attention, we literally just used our ult and follow-up on Imaginary March 7th literally less than 20 seconds ago, and it just came back that quick. Just gonna go ahead and basic here. Basic again. Skill. We don't have any worries. We're actually going to let him spawn some minions so that we can use them against him. We don't need to focus on the Trotters. We don't care about the Trotters. They'll just die on their own. Mem got it. Robin got it. I don't have to waste any of my skill points on those Trotters. You're just going to skill here, build up some charge. And we're just going to whittle them down. Then we're going to ult. And Mem is just going to get him to refresh. Already back at max stacks again. And usually in this scenario, if he does that, I mean, they're either going to target Robin or they're going to target the Remember His main character or Mem. Because the two Hunt characters obviously have the lowest taunt, so we're not concerned. And we have another follow-up attack. Another ult. And we're just going to now focus down the minions. This is the only time where we had to focus on them. It's the second half. Before we had to focus on first and second, we had to worry about the minions. And now that we are at the good position to get Feixiao back in the order, all these guys go goodbye. Bring Feixiao back up. And she's back at max stacks again. He has win res. Look at the damage. Look at the damage. He has win res. 1,000,000 damage across two ults. And in case you weren't paying attention, my March 7th had another follow-up. That was overkill. Look, even if that didn't kill him, I still was guaranteed to finish him off. It was just that easy. When you have another, it's almost like when you have another character on the field that is an additional body that can grab aggro, buff you with crit rate, crit damage, and bonus damage, and buff Robin, who is legitimately one of, if not the best Harmony characters in the game, and one of the best DPSs in the game. Oh man, it's almost like it's easy clap. And because you have the time stop, as I've already mentioned, sustained list clears are as easy as they've ever been. But you're not convinced. You're not sold on the sustained list clears. Of course you're not. Of course you're not. That's fine. Let's continue. So let's get straight into the next run. One of the things that kept being brought up to me was, well, Feixiao doesn't feel good against Svarog. People using full premium teams, by the way. Full Feixiao premium teams. And only able to complete this in 3 cycles, 4 cycles, 5 cycles. Meanwhile, I'm using 2 free characters. And I did it in 0. Am I a god amongst men? Do I have like an E6 Feixiao or something? What happened? People were convinced, oh no, Feixiao doesn't work that well against Svarog. Just wrote her off. I had that argument with those people 2-1. You see the timestamp? The day afterwards, I figured it out. Just to prove a point. If I can 0 cycle something that has win res, via what logic would I not be able to do it against enemies that have win weakness? Make it make sense. But apparently, this is also just, I'm the exception to the rule. This is impossible for most players. Really? Isn't possible? Or players aren't willing to try? Fellas want to complain about HP inflation and power creep. I'm like, guys, here's a free-to-play friendly team. All you need is 2 limiteds. 2 other characters are free. You don't even have to upgrade to Topaz. You don't even need a shielder. You're good. Nah, that's too hard. I don't figure that out. 4 attempts is all it took. 4 attempts to figure this out. And then I tested it again just to make sure that it wasn't a fluke. And it worked again. This is consistent. Oh, you don't believe me? Okay. Observe. The only difference is a little bit of RNG at the beginning, which is not even that big of a deal because, again, we have 5 team members. And as I already showed you guys in the previous run, the Remembrance main character and Mim have the higher taunt values between them and our Hunt characters. So we're basically doing the exact same thing. We start off by focusing the enemy on the left because, well, they're the annoying ones with the stuns. The only difference now is that everything is win weak. And we just have to focus the trotters. Oh no. We have to use what the developers gave us in order to beat the boss? To beat the elites? Man, I guess that's not optimal enough for some players. We're just going to get rid of a trotter here. And we'll happily accept this damage. You attack my Robin? Cool, more attack. You attack my Remembrance main character? More energy. My Mem gets more energy. I appreciate that. Keep it coming. Gone. Goodbye. We're doing basically the exact same thing. The only difference is that we focus on the trotters a little bit more. And we have to use an ultimate right here to get rid of this guy. Basically the same thing. You're broken. We're at max stacks already. Use an ult. Goodbye. Perish. And now we're just going to focus on the wolf. And the reason why it's taking me so long to come up with a decision is because I hadn't done this before. Obviously, this is my first attempt at the zero cycle. I ended up skilling and then using a basic on March 7th. But I think a better course of action would have been allow Mim to kill the trotters. And I could have used that basic on one of the bosses. We're just beaming them down. Already back up. Broken. Alt. Goodbye. 100% crit rate. Makes no difference to us. We're fine. I think that's the only second piece of RNG is making sure that our hunt characters don't get touched by that. But otherwise, we don't care. We're good. And we're just going to go right back up. And after this, it's guaranteed. It's wraps. Just go ahead and basic here. We have enough. Because we get 40% charge off the ultimate. Get an ult here. Time for us to go back up. Give me that true damage buff. Give me that 100% crit rate. 100%. Again, people were trying this with a premium team. Premium. And struggled. But apparently, the team that uses 2 free characters is less relatable for free-to-play players. You use a full premium team and can barely do it in 4. I do it with 2 free characters and zero cycle it. And somehow, I'm the unrelatable one. Yeah, that tracks. Make it make sense, dog. Make it make sense. People don't want to actually try an experiment. They just don't want to try. They want to do all the complaining. They want to do all the downplaying. But they don't want to sit down and actually figure shit out. You don't need to have crazy speed substats. I showed you the builds. 126, 134, and 156 on Remember's main character with 2 pieces that are, or 2 sets that are 8% each. These breakpoints are not hard to reach. And even if you don't zero cycle, that's not the point. The point is to be able to clear it consistently and comfortably. My team allows you to do that as a free-to-play. I wouldn't be propping it up if I didn't think that it was consistent, if I didn't think that it was reasonable to accomplish. What reason would I have to lie? I'm a free-to-play player. But maybe that's not enough. You're still not sold. You're like, whatever, man. You got your little zero cycles. Who cares? It's not doable for most players. Firefly is easier to use. She has more tools in her arsenal. She's the better free-to-play character. Really? Let's go over that. No problem at all. You won't take my word for it? Let's go to a reputable source. Oh, the most well-known and trusted guide websites in the world, perhaps? Prydwen? Let's look at the data. We'll even take out 0 cycles. We'll remove that from the equation. And I'll still prove to you that Feixiao is over Firefly. Let's move on. All right. So if you're still here, you most likely are not convinced yet. But that's okay. So I'm going to go over some of the arguments that are used by Firefly defenders. And we're going to try to go through this as quickly as possible because I don't want to take up any more of your time. These are real arguments that I've seen and heard. So I figured that I address them directly, right? First argument. Firefly has a lower floor than Feixiao because of Harmony main character. My counter argument, Feixiao has just as low of a floor because I remember his main character. I guess people just like forgot that he existed or didn't pay attention to his fourth Eidolon. So let's look at it. Dancer of the Muse. When an ally target with 0 max energy actively uses an ability, Mem can also gain 3% charge, and the multiplier of the true damage dealt by this target via Mem support additionally increases by 6%. Guys, who are the 2 characters that have 0 max energy in this game currently? Acheron and Feixiao. Remember, his main character literally directly buffs Feixiao more than any other DPS in the game. The only one that gets equivalent value is Acheron, and you're not really going to be using Remember his main character with Acheron. You can, it's good, but most likely you're not going to. So right now, the best support, or at least the best character that he goes with, is Feixiao. This argument that like, oh well, Firefly means if they don't have Ron May, they can just use Harmony main character. Whereas if you're using Feixiao and you don't have Robin, like it just feels bad. You have Imaginary March 7th and you have the Remembrance main character. It's literally the same floor. Let's go to the second argument. Firefly doesn't need her light cone. Feixiao does, or she's mid. My counter argument, my entire video. She doesn't need her light cone at all. You can even go further back. My whole channel, ever since I got her, I have been straight up just showcasing her ability. She has been running through Endgame like it's nothing ever since I got her. Who did I clear my first Memory of Chaos with in 0 cycles? At MOC 12 specifically. Feixiao. Who allowed me to 0 cycle both sides for the first time? Also Feixiao, I just showed you. She's insane. And she does not need her light cone in order to function. Third argument. Well, if we go by Prydwen standards, in which it's assumed that a sustain is accounted for, your 0 cycles hold no value. She's still not tier 0 or the best for average players. Okay. So let's ignore 0 cycles in their entirety and go by Prydwen criteria. Just for a little bit. They aren't looking at 0 cycle potential here, right? Flexibility. How the character's kit functions against various enemy types, amounts of enemies, and their ability to perform when not fighting against enemies vulnerable to their element. Can she comfortably clear either side of Memory of Chaos in 4 cycles or less with a sustain? Yes. One with win res at that. Can she fight effectively any elite or any boss as long as she has the correct team composition? Yes, because she can ignore toughness with her ult. And then you also have Imaginary March 7th that has imaginary. If their enemy's not win weak, usually they are imaginary weak. That's just how the elements match out. And then she can also match Feixiao's element. So if they are win weak, it becomes even easier to break them. Investment. Some characters require specific limited 5-star units, heavy investment in certain relic sets, or an abundance of substats in order to function at the highest level. Each of these points impacts the rating in a negative way. The more the character requires to perform well, the bigger the impact. Okay. So let's look at investment. Can we cook with Fei at E0S0? Yes, we've already covered that. Does she need her premium team to comfortably clear? No. She only needs one premium to function at the highest level, and that's Robin. That's it. Now, you might think that I'm only looking at my recent zero cycle as evidence. Like, I basically just do all my zero cycle sustain lists, and that's how I came to this conclusion that I have. No. I have been able to zero cycle MOC 10, which is obviously still considered in-game content, with sustains in previous runs. One with Luocha and one with Gallagher. I have it on my channel that you can go back and look at. I'll even link it if you want to look at it. In this current Memory of Chaos, I was able to zero cycle Kafka with Luocha. It was easy. I did it in like one attempt. First try. So this idea that is like, oh, you gotta have her premium team in order for it to work, is cap. Literally all you need is Robin. Does she need her best in slot relics in order to pop off? No. Arguably, her best relic set would be the Valorous set. I've been using the Duke set ever since she came out, and it works perfectly fine. Now, you might think, okay, what about the 2-piece? What about Duran? Okay, I use Duran, but you don't need Duran either. You can literally use Izumo. Gives you attack and crit rate if you're worried about those stats, which is easily triggered the instant that you use Imaginary March 7th. If you want to be even sweatier in terms of relic sets, you can use Eagle. And you can just get basically a ton of action advance for free, and it will still be on set for Feixiao. But you're still not convinced. Let's look at utility. Recently released characters possess abilities that lie beyond their defined role. For example, amplifiers / sustains that can deal decent damage. The more a character helps a team outside their role, the bigger the positive impact on their rating it has. So let's talk about that too. So obviously, she doesn't just work in the Memory of Chaos realm. She can be used at all levels of in-game content. She can even be used to effectively clear simulated universe as well, because a lot of those challenges require you to either, sometimes you're killing trotters, sometimes you have to break barrels. You can use her to easily farm, but I'm sure they're not counting for any of that, right? Let's just look at characters and where she slots up. Right now, her most commonly used teammate for free-to-play players is Imaginary March 7th, which is a 4-star. But the reason why that character works so well with Fei is because of, obviously, the ability to attack repeatedly with Fei. Which means that because Fei's whole kit is built around purely attack frequency, especially when we're in a meta where the enemies have so much HP and you don't want to allow them to get a lot of turns because they can slow you down, they can stun you. That means the more characters that come out that also have high frequency in attacking, the better Feixiao is going to become. There are a lot of characters that are coming out down the line that are going to be able to help her with increasing that attack frequency. We already have that with Remembrance main character because he can attack, Mem can attack, then you stack that with Imagine March 7th, and that's insane. Did you know that she's also going to be able to be used with Tribby? That's right. She works with Tribby too. So you're not even locked into Robin comps. Let's say, oh, I don't want to pull for Robin because she's meta or you don't like her song. Doesn't matter. You can use her with Tribby. And I've seen the runs already, and it works. It's not as good as Robin, but it works. At least you're not locked to Ron May. At least you're not locked to Fugue. She does a whole lot well. She just does. So we're talking about utility and her ability to be able to use anywhere with effectively anybody that has high attack frequency. She passes that test too. But you're still not convinced. Okay. Let's compare Feixiao to Firefly directly. E0 data directly from Prydwen. All content. All in-game content. First, Memory of Chaos. This was the last time that was updated. Read this first. This is the month. This is the day. This is the year. 16,000 players worth of data. And these are from random UIDs and self-reported players. So it's a mix of both. And they scanned 1.2 million accounts. Okay. Where's Feixiao? Right here. 11th out of 62 characters. In terms of DPS, 4th out of 15 plus DPS. Even if you account for Herta, 5th out of 15 plus DPSs. And a Memory of Chaos that's not meant for her. This is an AoE Memory of Chaos. And she still pops off. Where's Firefly at? 35th out of 62 characters. This is for the average player, guys. This is E0. Eidolons are not being included. She's actually done worse. Despite the fact that this is an AoE Memory of Chaos. Worse. Worse than Boot Hill. Boot Hill. Worse than Himiko. '11th out of 15 plus DPS. 12th if you account for Herta. It gets worse. Apocalyptic Shadow. 12,000 players. 1 million accounts scanned. Number 1 out of all DPSs. Beyond the Emanator that just came out. Second among 62 characters. Where is Firefly? 21st out of 62 characters. In a fire week, Apocalyptic Shadow. Did worse than the last time. Down. You see the down arrow? Worse performance. Whereas Feixiao has improved and her number is already high. These are the average players that you're talking about, right? Why doesn't the data support your point then? There's 2 endgame modes already that she's worse than Feixiao in via average player data. But wait, it gets even worse. Pure fiction. You're thinking, no way, that's not possible. There's no way that Feixiao performed better than Firefly in pure fiction. It's literally an AoE mode. Well, you don't have to believe me. There's Feixiao. There's Firefly. Let me get this straight. Firefly is better and more free-to-play friendly for the average player than Feixiao, but has lost to Feixiao in every single category, data-wise, for every single in-game mode. How do you allow a single target unit outdo you in pure fiction? What argument are you going to use to counter this? Firefly 0 and 3. 0 and 3. Guys, I'm not even done yet. Some of you might be like, all right, bro, I concede, man. Please, she's already dead. I'm not done. I want to explain to you guys why I never pull for Firefly. I'm going to explain why. Let me show you something. You want to know the reason why I never pulled for Firefly? That's right. Himiko. You might think that's outlandish. You're saying Himiko can replace Firefly? Yep. 100%. I want you to think, from a standard banner basis, what character replaces Feixiao? Oh, that's right. No one. Because Yang Qing is ass. Not even close. Feixiao is one of one. Himiko, on the other hand, can not only be used in break comps, but she can be used in follow-up comps too. I've been using her like that ever since I've got her. And she's only gotten better with the release of Ron May and Robin. And then when Tribby comes out, she'll also perform well with Tribby too. Literally, you can swap out your Firefly with Himiko, put them on the exact same premium team, and it will still perform well. You don't have to believe me. The proof is on my channel. I can't replace Feixiao with anyone. Before Firefly even came out, this is your alternative. We're talking about free-to-play friendliness. Himiko is one of the most free-to-play friendly characters in the game. She's a standard banner. And you're most likely going to end up with at least one copy of her. I usually hear so many stories. Oh man, I have like E2 Himiko, E3 Himiko, E4. Literally, if you end up with E2 Himiko, if you had her before Firefly, why the heck would you pull for Firefly? When Firefly came out, my Himiko was E4. I'm not wasting my time pulling for her. You have Himiko, you can just save your resources. You can save your resources and pull for Feixiao. And because Himiko can be used in follow-up and break teams, the exact same teams, you can use her with Ranmei, Fugue, and Gallagher, and she will pop the fuck off. Because she can be used in both team compositions, she actually is more versatile than Firefly. Firefly can only be used in break teams. That's it. Outside of that, you can't use her for anything else. At least Feixiao can be used on follow-up teams, and even to some degree, erudition teams. Firefly is locked, hard locked into break. Feixiao, kind of like Acheron, is basically her own meta. As long as she has characters in the game that have high attack frequency, she can go off. So the only argument that you could possibly use to say that Firefly is over Feixiao is what? Oh, well, you only have to farm for break stats. You don't have to worry about crit rate and crit damage. As if the crit rate and crit damage stats on my Feixiao are insane. It's 90% over 100 and what, 14%? Before that, it was barely over 100%. And it still worked. You don't need insane speed stats either. You just get like 125 or so speed. And then March 7th is going to give her an additional speed boost once she uses her skill on her. I think I've said everything that I need to say. If you still think that Firefly is over Feixiao after everything I just showed you, you're just coping. She's 0-3 against Feixiao in every in-game mode amongst the average player. And 2 of those modes specifically cater to AoE. And she still lost. Feixiao deserves to be tier 0. With everything she's been able to do in content that isn't even built for her, she deserves that spot. She even beat out Herta in Apocalypse the Shadow, and that was made for Herta. Firefly outperforms nowhere. Nowhere. So if you want to believe in your Firefly, you want to keep blindly defending Firefly, go ahead. I can only speak for myself when I say that I didn't choose wrong, and I'll die on that hill. Feixiao, right now, is the greatest free-to-play friendly unit in this entire game. And she is only going to get better. Because imagine what happens when we get a 5-star imaginary March 7th, a 5-star equivalent. Imagine if we get a 5-star equivalent, which is inevitable for the Remembrance main character. Firefly can't even keep up with the average player now. And a Memory of Chaos that is basically built for her because it's AoE focused. APOC Shadow, where it's even playing field, still loses. Pure Fiction, where she has advantage, still loses. I'm not going to draw this out any further. My point has been made. I rest my case. You can call me a Feixiao Glazer, whatever you want. I'm still right. Your boy Rs is out.